Welcome to Train Simulator 2020. Going to take the West Palm Beach to Miami route today. Going to perform this in career mode, and it's a spring morning, foggy, about 6:50 in the morning. Going to be starting today at Mangonia Park and heading down to Miami International Airport. Total trip time is about 2 hours, but we'll keep this down to about 20 minutes per segment in this series. The scheduled stops in part 1 are Mangonia Park, West Palm Beach, and we'll end up in Lake Worth. We'll hit the button to load passengers and be off right after we get loaded. I like to be in cab view, but also like the shift 2 method that hangs you out the window. Kind of like a dog hanging his head out the window, but I like the view, and it's not a bad way to see everything. So I hope I don't switch it around too much for y'all on this trip, but try to give you a decent view of the route. Well, take off the brake, put the gear in forward, and slowly accelerate, and we're underway and heading toward Miami International Airport. We've got a freight train passing us by. This is a slow section of the route, so you have to really watch your speed, and you want to do the best speed you can because you are on a timetable and you're graded on how late you are to your appointed time that you've got to be at the next station. I find it best to try to get a couple miles an hour below the speed limit and then use your throttle up and down to kind of keep yourself right in that area. And then you can look ahead and see where you need to accelerate or decelerate. And remember, when you hit a speed area, it waits till a complete train passes that speed area before you can get to that speed. I've actually ridden this line a number of times from Miami all the way up to West Palm, and from West Palm all the way down to Miami. Used to have to go do a lot of boat shows in South Florida, down in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, and go visit friends. I would just hop on the train rather than driving an hour or so through I-95 traffic, which is terrible if you've ever been to that area. It was a very comfortable ride and kind of interesting, a different way to see South Florida than normally from the road. I purchased the FP40 and the rail cars for this route, and it also came with this scenario, so you're driving it, but it just does not have the tri-rail logos on the car, which I've read in the comments, people saying it's something about licensing for the logos. It'd be nice if it had those tri-rail logos on there, though. Now, I really kind of screwed up on the horns here. Some of the areas of this track do not allow horns. It will actually penalize you if you use them. In other areas, you do use the horns, which I think is this area here. But then when you get down closer to West Palm and Fort Worth, you can't use the horns. You can see the little signals signs on the side of the track. So I'm kind of inconsistent with the horn in this section, but I'll work on getting better. To say that this really gives you the impression that it is morning. If you've ever been to South Florida and been there in the morning, it always has that kind of overcasty mistiness to it until the sun burns off the clouds, and that's exactly looks like it, and I can kind of even feel it in my bones too. The light levels will increase as the time gets later and as we move further south. Coming into West Palm Beach Station, you start slowing down. I like to get it to about 20, 25 miles an hour in the station, and then you slam on the brakes as you get there to do the fastest stop you can. You got a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit coming into the station, so it's best just to keep it about 18, 19, and then just hit the brakes when you get into the station. And from what I remember, it seems like they really got the stations pretty correct as the way they are in real life. Start applying the brake up to about 38% or so. There's always the same passengers waiting for the train and getting on and off the train. Their daddy or mommy must have got around a lot in South Florida. Anyways, you usually got to stop right at the end of the pad, and that's the place where it will click the thing to tell you to load the passengers. And you click the button and load the passengers and wait for the little red bar to complete its journey across and tell you to head out to the next station. Tell you what, some of those drivers come around that corner pretty darn quick and speeding by. Of course, it is South Florida. The passengers are loaded, and it's time to head out to Lake Worth Station. And we have another passenger train arriving from the south. This run down the Lake Worth is a little higher speed run. I think you can get up to about 70 something plus miles an hour on this section, but then you got to slow down. But it goes much quicker, even though it's a longer distance. I'll have to say I'm impressed at how much this really does look like South Florida. you can really start picking up some speed here and make up some time. Well, you can see the day starting to get a bit brighter, and we're moving on down towards Lake Worth. Looks like we're paralleling I-95, and I don't believe there's that much traffic in the morning on I-95. Must be a Sunday. Coming into Lake Worth Station, time to start slowing down. Shift it into reverse and increase the throttle, and that will use the engines to slow you down, or the electric motors to slow you down. Start increasing the throttle, and that gives a load to the motors and brakes you, dynamic brakes you into the station. There is the no whistle sign. And again, it really looks like they got the stations pretty correct to their real-life counterparts. Start applying the brakes here, and coming in rather hot, so I really got to get on the brakes. And I actually land a little bit long on the pad, but it's okay. Push the button to load and unload passengers, and we're here. Thanks for taking this short ride. This is the first part of probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 more parts all the way to Miami International Airport.